Hello, everyone, and welcome to CCHA, also known as Clinton County Historical Museum, here in Plattsburgh, in Clinton County, somewhere upstate New York, in the North Country that we all love and we call it our home. Today, we really do have a special guest, and I know every time I will say a special guest, it is a special guest, but this time is really my honor to have our newest assemblyman, Michael Cashman. I can't thank you enough for giving me the time and for you to come here today to talk to us. So thank you.
It's great to be with you. Thanks for having me.
Yes, and congratulations.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
How you feel?
It's a pretty surreal feeling, to be quite frank. Having been an elected official as a town supervisor before, I know that I personally was very choked up the night that I got elected as town supervisor because this community adopted me about 26 years ago. Obviously, a number of years before that, when I was supervisor. It's very humbling to have people entrust you to serve them and to represent them, and this is at a whole other scale. So it's very, very humbling.
So, you know about that podcast that it's all about you and your real story. We all know you. You are famous. I can say that in the North
I don't know
Country,
about that, but-
especially lately. You always been,
Yeah.
and you have a great name out there that we all respect and follow, and we know you're taking care of us now, just like you took care of the town of Plattsburgh. Um, but we're gonna dive right into it deeper to know really who's Michael Cashman, where you were born.
So I was born in Boston, Massachusetts, but I grew up in a little tiny town, often referred to as the home of ocean spray cranberries, Carver, Massachusetts. But the community that I grew up in versus the community that it's become today is very different. And what I mean by that is Carver really was kind of a one red blinking stoplight town. It was very rural, and had cranberries everywhere. And my first job was actually pulling weeds out of a cranberry bog.
Really?
Yeah. And then later I worked with my dad in his general construction company and some different things like that. My mother worked for Ocean Spray. My grandmother worked for Ocean Spray. My grandfather worked for Ocean Spray, all at some point. But our area is often referred to as the gateway to the Cape or Cape Cod.
Cape Cod, that's beautiful. So you left Cape Cod and you're living here?
I left Cape Cod 26 years ago to
Okay.
attend SUNY Plattsburgh or Plattsburgh University. The joke that I used to say is that I wanted a location where if my parents were going to come and visit, that they would have to call first to make sure that I was there. And but I found a couple things. One, I was looking for a university that would give me a good education, obviously, but I really was looking for a community. Right. I grew up in that small town. I knew that it was not a place that I necessarily wanted to go home to. So when I came here, I was looking for a place to get really involved, and I was really fortunate to fall in love twice. I met my wife Olivia. She's from Massapequa, Long Island, so neither of us are local. We're transplants. And then together we fell in love with the North Country and decided to make this our forever home.
So do you have siblings?
I'm an only child.
You're the only child.
I'm an only child, but what was really special about my upbringing was my maternal grandparents lived downstairs. And I grew up in a working class family. My mother was a secretary. My stepfather was a sheet metal fabricator. And my dad, did general construction. My grandmother was a waitress. And then my grandfather, he was a Korean War uh, um, Air Force veteran, and he was a custodian for a number of years, and then later a security guard. So a lot of my family had jobs later on, like I was saying about Ocean Spray. And the thing that I always like to tell people is that my grandmother Noni and I share the same birthday. It's the day after Christmas. So everybody should know that I am the favorite grandchild.
Okay.
But I was fortunate that I grew up in a period where two of my cousins, Brian and Jamie, Jamie is the oldest. I'm the second oldest in the grandkids, and then Brian. So the three of us grew up in a way where after school I would jump on my bike and I would go across town, and we would get into good trouble, right, as kids do. and they were like my siblings, even though they weren't my brother and sister.
Michael Cashman have fear?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
What's your biggest fear?
I think my biggest fear is not being able to uh, deliver in a way like I want. I have very high expectations for myself. Um, I also have dyslexia, and I'm very open with that with individuals. It's something that I continue to manage growing up. Growing up, many people didn't think that I would even graduate high school, and I was able to do that.
Do you find it like, do you find difficulties?
Oh yeah, there's definitely difficulties. I'm a horrible speller and horrible with grammar, but I something that my grandfather had told me many many times. You'll probably hear tons of puppetisms. Is that even though it wasn't his phrase, he would often say, "Be yourself. No one is more qualified to be you than you." Right? And to lean into yourself and be authentic, and be unapologetically authentic. And I always tell people, what you see is what you get.
Do you feel like that makes you understand how people sometimes have to suffer from certain disease or certain thing, but yet they are capable of doing a high job or high performance job? Is that why you go around and you talk about that?
Yeah, so I've had a lot of life experiences that I believe has built a well of empathy that I try to draw from. Um, Everything from losing my grandfather as a sophomore in college. He was a guiding light in my life. Um, I'll tell you a quick story actually. So when I was in high school, I ran for student council. Or I came home and I said to my pop, said, "I'm going to run for student council." And he goes, "Okay." He goes, "Go upstairs and do your homework and come down in an hour or so. I'll yell for you. I'll have something for you." I said, "Okay." And so about an hour or so goes by and he yells for me and I come downstairs and on his kitchen table he has all lined up uh, pieces of paper with quarters and nickels and dimes taped to them or glued to them, I should say. And one read, "Vote Cashman, the name that makes sense. Vote Cashman for change. Vote Cashman, leadership you can count on." And the funny story about that is I took those posters in the next day, and they all got torn down. People took the money off of them and used them at the school store, and I lost that election. And one of the things that I'll never forget is that he basically said to me, he goes, "It's easy to tear things down, and it's easy to not build things, but being authentic, leaning into yourself is difficult." And when I lost him my sophomore year of college, that was a real hit to me. And then it was 11 years ago, thereabouts, I lost my stepfather to brain cancer. So I've had these life experiences. I've lost very influential people in my life, um, and I think of them often. And I often try to live a life that would honor their legacy that they provided me as a guiding light.
Is did the when you lost them, did you feel like you need to heal or grieve, or do you still have the healing and grieving going on?
My so I end up getting a degree in counseling, and I think part of the reason that I end up being attracted to getting a master's degree in counseling was part of that grief component, right? Um, every one of us is going to go through a traumatic experience, and I think dignity and respect is something that we should all provide to one another as human beings. We can disagree but not be disagreeable. As an elected official, I often use, this thought is my most difficult constituent is always going to be at the opposite end of my couch, and that's Olivia, right? She and I don't agree 100% of the time. So I know I'm not going to agree with my constituents and vice versa 100% of the time, but we can both give each other dignity and respect. We can agree to disagree, but continue to stay engaged in a conversation that hopefully we can stay solution focused or find an opportunity where we can still collaborate on something, right? Because I personally believe that no one is really a single issue person, right? So I want to stay engaged with individuals and try to find ways that we can be connected.
Did you grow up, would you say poor, middle class, or rich?
Oh, middle class.
Middle
Yeah,
class.
definitely working middle class family. Like I said, my mother was a secretary. My stepfather was a sheet metal fabricator. And they worked often many extra hours. I was also kind of a latchkey kid. My grandparents lived downstairs in our joint house because it was expensive.
Mm.
And um, I, so I was very fortunate to have my maternal grandparents in my life. But I remember working from a very young age, different jobs. When I was in high school, I worked two jobs. I worked at Kmart and I worked at Ocean Spray. Plus, I went to high school. I always tried to make sure that I was making money to kind of contribute to the overall health of the family and myself. When I was a college student here at SUNY Plattsburgh, I ended up becoming a resident assistant, but I also worked in the mailroom. I would, work in other offices and stuff like that. Any opportunity that I could have that would help facilitate making sure that, you know, um, financially protected. And I'm not a big spender nowadays.
Yeah.
Olivia often says to me, she's like, and I think part of it is your upbringing.
Hmm. So you believe in love. Of course, you have a long, happy marriage. How did you guys meet?
So we met. Two fun facts. So we've been together for 26 years, and next week is our 20th wedding anniversary.
Oh, congratulations.
And so when I came to SUNY Plattsburgh, I met her at freshman orientation,
Mhm.
and we kind of hit it off. But there's this really fun story that a gentleman, Dr. Larry Schaffer, was a distinguished professor, and he did this exercise kind of annually where he'd say, "Turn to your left, turn to your right, you never know who you're going to meet." And he goes, "You could have met, the future student body president someday," which I ended up becoming. You meet the person that starts a club or organization with you, blah blah, and it just goes through this whole litany of things. And then the very last one he says is, "You could have just introduced yourself to your future husband or wife or partner." And we looked at each other, and we kind of went, "Hell no!"
Oh, wow. That's
Right.
cool.
And then 5 years later, Bill Laundrie, who was our dean of students at the time, and became a very important person in our life, a longtime mentor and friend, married Olivia and I on the stairs of Hawkins Hall. And if you go to Hawkins, there's a bench that I purchased for our first wedding anniversary.
Wow. So do you believe the law of attraction?
I do. I believe that there's cosmic, kind of connections. I believe that we were meant to be. If you really even go further into the story of kind of how we both arrived there, there are so many pushes and pulls and interesting things. I think we were both meant to come to Plattsburgh. I think we were both meant to meet each other. I think we were both meant to have our lives here in this region, and it's why I've dedicated my life, here. My that same grandfather used to say, "Where a person chooses to live is a value statement within itself." And I not only choose to live here, I choose to serve here because I and we have been very fortunate to have been adopted by this community.
Yeah.
And so I feel a commitment to do everything I can.
It is a great community. Do you guys have children or pets or?
Yeah, we have no children. Unfortunately, we were not able to have children. But we, commit our lives in service in other ways. We do have dogs. We have three dogs. We have
These are children.
they are. They're the fur children.
Yes.
But we have a golden retriever, Valcor.
Mm-hmm.
Then we have a North Country Special, a mix, more beagle than anything,
Mm-hmm.
Joe. And then we have a one-eyed beagle, purebred, that Olivia saved. And his name is Jackson.
His name is Jackson. I love
Jackson.
that.
Yeah.
So I have a like more deeper
Sure.
question for Michael Cashman. Um, have you ever have a moment where you just wake up and you're a completely different person? Because anything big you shared with us lost people, or something really big happened that makes you decide, okay, this is what I'm gonna do, such as like serving now all your life. What makes you decide and get up in the morning and make you who you are?
Yeah, I don't think there's been anything that has changed me to the core of my being.
Mm.
What I will tell you is I'm motivated by a really simple philosophy of every day is a new opportunity to do better than the day before. Right? Like even the worst day that you could ever have today, chances are that tomorrow can't be as bad as today necessarily. That same grandfather used to say, "Change is the only thing that's consistent in the world."
Yeah.
So I don't mind change. It sometimes takes me a little while to get acclimated to it, right? Like anybody, um, but I like challenge. Um, I like to take the bull by the horns and try to do what I can. Um, and I'm inspired by people.
Mm.
Like that really at the core. Like, I have a family member, Hazel. She lived to the wise old age of 103.
Mm-hmm.
She'd never had more than a fifth or sixth grade education. Okay. And she lived by a philosophy of if she met you for the first time, the very first, she wouldn't even care what your name was. The first question out of her mouth is going to be, "What have you learned today?"
Mm-hmm.
And she internalized this hunger for knowledge. And if I stayed over at her house growing up, I could be rubbing the crust out of my eyes, waiting for the French toast to be cooked in the morning, and she would say, "Michael, what have you learned?"
Mm.
And she was a scholar of conversation. She wanted to get to know people. She was interested in their story. She was a ferocious reader. Up until like I think the last 2 weeks of her life or something, she was reading like upwards of like 10 books a week. I mean, like just crazy amounts of information. So she's somebody that defines a category that I call inspired by example.
Mm-hmm.
While I may not do it the way they do, I'm inspired by the way people live their lives authentically, as who they are, and I try to do that.
Michael Cashman has did you have a best friend growing up?
I did have I had some different best friends, and unfortunately, with changes in school, like I had one best friend that ended up going to a different school, and then I had another, kind of in a similar way. I have best friends now,
Mm-hmm.
and it goes all the way back to my undergraduate experience to my professional experience now. And you asked me if I have any siblings. I don't have blood siblings,
Mm.
but I have one person in my life that is like a brother to me, and he and I talk regularly, and I know that I would do anything for him, and vice versa. He
Okay.
would do anything for me.
Do you ever see yourself going from what you're doing now to anything different?
That's a really really tough question because honestly, how I became the town supervisor
Mm.
was kind of a unique situation because at the time, I didn't see myself as being the town supervisor. I had a job at the college. I absolutely loved it. If you talk to just about anybody of my colleagues at the university, they would have said that I probably would have liked to have been a dean of students or a vice president or something in the future. Um, the opportunity came about, and I took that challenge on and the opportunity, and was humbled to have been allowed to do that. When Billy Jones decided that he was transitioning into some new opportunities himself, and he and I had an honest conversation. it felt very similar to the supervisor thing. And that through line is what my grandfather used to say: is change is the only thing that's consistent, right? Sometimes things only happen once. You have to look at them with honesty. One of the things that I really enjoyed was when I declared running for the assembly. Um, I had a conversation with Olivia, and she was in full support of it. But then we got out in the district and we started having conversations. Because while I may be more known in Clinton County, I wanted to make sure that I was talking to people in Franklin and Essex. And I'm a big believer that um, the best model is a listen, learn, and lead. I love connecting with individuals. So when you ask kind of like what's next or where do I see myself, on the horizon, I'm going to continue to listen. I'm going to continue to learn from my surroundings and stuff like that. I can tell you one job that I have no interest in because people have asked. When you become an elected, people almost ask you immediately, like what's next, right? Congress, I have no interest in Congress. Okay, so I mean that.
Our assemblymen wait and think about it, and maybe we'll ask you again next year.
I mean, could something crazy happen? Yeah, something crazy could happen, but one of the things that I absolutely loved about being town supervisor, truly loved it, and I know that it will still continue at the assembly level, is I do a lot of business in the produce aisle, right? I love being able to be around the people that I'm serving directly. The further you get away from the people you serve, I personally would struggle with that.
No, I get it. I get it. When you were young, have you ever thought you were going to be an assemblyman for you?
Certainly not well, I couldn't even win a student council race. So, well, I can tell you when I was sworn in.
How did you feel?
It was very surreal.
Mm.
I mean, it's a historic chamber. I mean, I was very fortunate that my mother and my wife Olivia were there. Never in my mind would I have thought some, young kid growing up in the family and the lifestyle that we did, would be in that chamber being sworn in, and to be able to represent this region in such a way, because I love the people and I love this community and region.
So how's your relationship with your mom?
Oh, it's great. Yeah, we're I mean, again, as an only child, she inspires me. She's a steel rod. I mean, she has inspired me many times over growing up. Making sure that the family was provided for. Um, she lost her job at one point. She started her own business. That inspires me. She inspires me by the fact that my stepfather was dying of brain cancer, and the way that she cared for him so compassionately and did it with dignity and respect. Yeah, she's a steel rod.
How about relationship with your dad?
I have a great relationship with my dad. I'm fortunate that I have a dad and a stepdad. And I grew up with my stepfather, so my dad is in my life, but different than my stepfather. My stepfather was more of that day to day, parental figure. Yeah.
Do you have a hobby?
I do have a hobby. Photography is something that I like to do.
I think people who's going to really enjoy this, they want to know more. The Michael Cashman. So
I like photography.
okay.
And I don't get to do it nearly enough. I prefer landscape photography type stuff,
Okay.
because I think part of it is it's I enjoy it for two reasons. One is I think that subject photography, like with humans, in animals, it's difficult, right? There's a lot of movement and stuff like that. But for me, it gives me a little bit more solitude in making sure that when I'm getting out and about, that I can really kind of sink in that moment, right? And kind of be in my surroundings. And it kind of captures moments too. So yeah.
Do you like sport?
Hockey, yeah. Yeah. I'm a Boston Bruins fan. Yeah, but hockey is definitely my sport. When I was growing up as a kid, I played hockey for a little bit, and you were either the baseball kid or you were the hockey kid. I'm the hockey kid.
You were that.
Yeah, yeah.
um, so when you go out and about after what happened, now that you are the elected official of our region, did you feel different like the first day walking outside your home, and like did you get worried?
Did I get what?
Worry about what's coming?
I'm not a worry by nature. It is different. I mean, I can tell you that. How do I want to describe it? And it's not just elected officials. There's just certain roles in your community, right? Certain roles in your community, more people end up knowing you than you know them, right?
Yes.
So one day, shortly after the election, I was pumping gas, and a gentleman was walking in my direction, and I'm like, you're going through like the Rolodex, right? You're trying to be like, have we met? He looks familiar, da 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 da, and he goes. I know you don't know me at all, but I saw the campaign commercials, I got the mailers, and blah blah blah, and we engaged in this great conversation, and I really enjoyed that.
Oh.
Right? And, again, we were up to dinner. People would walk by and say, hey, congratulations. Um, but what was really interesting is when I first got elected as supervisor, Olivia and I went out to dinner. And it was just the two, it was a two top. And I saw this guy kind of coming down in the corner of my eye. Didn't really pay much attention to it. And all of a sudden, he slid a chair to our table and sat down. He goes, hi. I think his name was Adam. And he goes, I know you don't know me. He goes, but I have some ideas that I want to throw by you as a new town supervisor. And it was like, that was like an instant kind of like, oh, our lives have changed in a way where people don't necessarily know boundaries. Right? So,
Yes.
I was able to say, obviously you can see that I'm out with my wife, why don't you
Yes.
give the office a call, da 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 da. But again, I am a social person. I think it would be very difficult to do this job if you didn't want to be around people and have conversations. Yeah. And I think people are very graceful too, where they understand that, I've been comparing it to like the campaign for this was only about 60 days, thereabouts. And I felt like a bug on a windshield. I met, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people. So, like, to meet somebody and then you might meet them again and be like, okay, you get facial recognition. Is it Jane? Is it Sue? Is it, type of thing. Yeah.
You ready for the next year?
Yeah. I'm excited. I'm really excited. I mean, there will be challenges. There's no doubt about it. But as I have told individuals, whether it was myself or my opponent, we both would be the most junior member of this legislative body, right? I think that there's significant benefits for having somebody in the majority because I'll be in the room. And while I know that I won't get everything that I want, I'm not shy from lending my voice to the conversation. Um, there are North Country needs that are unique and distinct to Albany or New York, and rural America doesn't get its fair share. I've often told people that, I grew up in an agricultural area. I went from cranberries to cows. You know what I mean? Like, just to kind of put it in perspective, and there's other agriculture in this area, but I understand grit. I understand hard work. I understand what it means to have to, punch above your weight and have to make tough decisions, and what it means to suffer. With affordability and stuff, and those aren't talking points, and those aren't campaign slogans or buzzwords to me. How we live our lives here in the North Country, those are things that I lived growing up. I see it happening now, and it's what inspires me to make sure that we're doing what we can to protect our friends and neighbors.
I love that. I love, can we just be people?
Yeah.
You know? What does Michael Cashman think about mental health?
Oh, I think we need to destigmatize mental health. I think,
Okay.
Both as a counselor, as an individual that's worked with many individuals. In fact, I probably can't see it; it's too far up. I have one of the semicolon. tattoos, and that semicolon tattoo is representative of a couple of different stories. One is an uncle who went through some chapters and challenges. It also is a representative of a couple other individuals, and I believe that everyone should have a second chapter and an opportunity. And I think it's absolutely acceptable for people to ask for help. I think men in particular
Yes.
don't ask for help enough. And, we can't do it all ourselves.
I I love that you said that, especially men in particular, they usually have a hard time to reach out.
Yeah, yeah.
And do you have an idea, just an idea,
Uh-huh.
on what are you gonna do exactly next year? Like, what's your biggest thing that you have it on the top of everything?
So I look at things through, I think, a slightly different prism. I've been getting this question all like, what is your top three priorities going to be? I think that sets us up for a failure to begin with. And what I mean about that is, let's just take, so I ran on a platform that looked at affordability, safety, and kind of planning and protecting our future. Let's just take affordability though. Healthcare connects to childcare, to housing, to good working jobs, and what I mean by that is if you don't have a reliable car, and you are also having childcare issues, or you're having your job doesn't pay well enough that you blow out your tire and you have the potential to lose your job. It's also going to put strain on your household for your apartment. Like, we have to look at the connective tissue more, and we have to be, I think, a little bit more real that things aren't single issues, right? So I want to find where things can come together and we can strengthen things, um, because I think a lot often we look at, we need something new. Sustaining things is equally as difficult. So we need to sustain things, we need to recalibrate things, and we need to build new things. So I that's what I want to do, is I want to kind of look at those opportunities through that. But then again, the safety, again, our correction officers, our local EMTs and volunteer firefighters, planning for our future, looking, I served in local government for almost 10 years. There are no Democratic roads or Republican water lines, right? Like, our infrastructure doesn't know D's and R's. And we need to make sure that we're working, uh, focused on people, not politics.
Yes.
And that's a through line to all of these categories that I'm talking about. So the biggest thing that I want to do is to make sure that I'm an authentic North Country voice for North Country needs and try to deliver those resources back to the district.
And I can't thank you enough for actually having that time, because I wanted to show the whole idea of this, what we do on the
Sure.
podcast, is to actually set up an example that leader are normal people, are have a struggle, they believe in mental health, they go through day to day thing. So have you have a regret in life? Did you have one thing that if time goes back you will say I wish or regret it?
Um, I don't tend to lean in the categories of regrets, because I think whatever fires you go through forges you to be the person of who you are today. Like, I wouldn't be me if I didn't have those lived experience previously. Would I have made slight, left or right, turns a little bit? Yeah, probably. Um, but I'd rather own the life that I'm living, and looking forward to, many more days, weeks, months, years ahead of me, hopefully. So, yeah, I probably not really regret. One thing I may have done differently when I was at college is probably done study abroad, for example. But other than that, and I don't even see that as a regret, because what I gained from my experience elsewhere was equal as
Did you travel?
yeah, yeah, and I think of it, from here, right? we are a border community. I love the fact that Canada, is so close to us, and certainly get up there. I don't get up there as much as I personally would like to. So again, you talk about it's is it a regret? It's not a regret, but something that you always maybe you wish you could do a little bit more of.
Have you traveled outside the country?
I have. I've been to Ireland and some other places, and in fact, you know, um, Ireland is such a beautiful country, and my wife, father, though I have not been yet, is from the country of Malta. He came here to the United States when he was 17 or 18. So again, we're talking about that story that Olivia and I have. There are a lot of things that had to happen over the course of life, in my world and her world, for the two of us to have come together. And I think the cosmics, you know, to some degree,
That,
fate, yeah.
so is that your favorite country that you went to?
Ireland is my favorite country
It is.
outside of the United States.
How about inside the United States?
My favorite, Maine. Yeah, Olivia and I spend a lot of time in Maine. We tend to go to the more remote parts of it. We go to Acadia, Maine. Love the state parks. It is a blend of the ocean and the mountains and hiking, and we usually bring one of the dogs with us. And I've never met a lobster that I don't like.
How is Michael Cashman, our assemblyman, is mental health doing?
Good, good. I'm a firm believer of you have to make sure that you're taking tending to yourself. You can't pour from an empty cup, as they say.
Do you have a low moments, or are you always steady?
I try to be pretty steady,
Okay.
right? But I think we all have those moments. Moments of frustration, moments of sadness, or what have you. But again, I think I surround myself with individuals that are a good sounding board, right? You know, to make sure that I'm kind of listening and learning from them, and having those conversations and stuff like that. And As town supervisor, for example, I don't live that far away from town hall. I would often make sure to get home during lunch to go throw the ball with the dog for even 15, 20 minutes. Right? So it's those little things. I think a lot of times when people think of your mental health, that you have to do something big. No, it's going for a walk. It's making sure that you're getting enough rest. It's making sure that you're, maybe getting in that favorite meal that you're really just been looking forward to all week and stuff like that. One of my things that Olivia and I do every week is we have pasta Sunday. Like every Sunday, I look forward to pasta Sunday.
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
That's great idea.
And then if something happens where for some reason pasta Sunday can't happen because either I'm traveling or something's going on, it becomes pasta Monday. So it's like it kind of just gets built in, and it's an opportunity where it becomes kind of just a little bit of an internal family ritual and stuff like that. And sometimes even in the middle of the week when you're having kind of like a moment, we jokingly say 3 more days until pasta Sunday, and it just yeah.
Yes. Do you have an advice for young adult lady? And I often ask that question, especially in everyone's field that we talk to give them advice if they want to be you. What should they do? What they start on doing it, or what advice can you give people?
Yeah, it's I've said it a couple of times, and it's not even my own advice. It's my grandfather's advice: is be yourself. Do it unabashedly and authentically, and try things out. If you don't like it, do something different. One of the things that I have talked about for quite a while now is there's what I refer to as the great graying in government. Right? When I first got elected to the town board, I was roughly 30 years young to the next youngest member.
Wow.
Okay, and that's not a poke at any of the people that were serving on the town board. But if we want a government that is representative of the people, We need women, we need men, we need people that are across generations. We need people of all, just everything. We need an inclusive government so that the voices are spoken and heard in such a way that it makes for good policies and procedures. Democracy is about disagreement. It's how you do it that makes the difference between public service and politics. And I look at public service as building people up, whereas politics is about tearing things down.
Mm. Why do you think the, we have this reputation about politics?
Politics is in everything too, right?
Sure.
I mean, truthfully, every job there's office politics because it becomes about resources and it becomes about people's agendas and things like that. But that's why I personally seek to internalize servant leadership, a public servant. Um, and, politics, again, is about the limited resources and it's people's opinions. And I think we have to find what we have in common more than what divides us. It's easy to find things that we don't agree upon, right?
Correct.
It's almost easier to do that than it is to sit together and find the things that we have that really we share and we can build on. And one of the things that I would say about that I believe in firmly, we often say to folks, I don't like flip floppers, right? A flip flopper is somebody that's on an issue, off an issue, on like
Yes.
constantly doing this. There's nuances in everything. Context is really critical. And the other part to it is what I want, because I'm served by other elected officials, right? I'm a constituent as well as an elected official. So what I want from other public servants is that they're going to listen, they're going to learn, and maybe they will actually change their opinion, right? So I think you need to give folks space to grow too. In this 24-hour news cycle, often things develop and someone's right there and they're like, tell me what you think about in the moment. Well, the problem is you may not have enough information in the moment to be able to clearly define how you feel or what you know about it because you're reacting with little trail mix, of information. Ask somebody 3 hours, ask somebody 3 days, 3 weeks, 3 months, 3 years, and it could change because the context, the knowledge, could fill in a lot of gaps there.
From my previous what I did for a living, I used to get texts when a politician did something and it's gonna be in the paper, and people text us, "What happened? What happened?" And you know how I respond all the time? Politicians are human too.
Yeah.
And I used to love that just quote that politicians are human too. And now that you remind me of something that very personal to me. What are you gonna do with the Michigan project? What's gonna happen?
Michigan Fest. Michigan Fest is continuing on.
Okay.
But to be clear, Michigan Fest. I might have kind of dreamed up the big thing. Michigan Fest would never have been a reality if it wasn't for You First Federal Credit Union and Danamore Federal Credit Union. I mean, I'm very thankful that we were able to establish a public-private partnership. And the other one I get asked about is the Battlefield Memorial Gateway Project, our Veterans Park, the town and the Clinton County American Legion are going to continue to partner. I'm going to continue to be a huge cheerleader and advocate and support both of those things.
You did a great, successful projects and great thing for the town. So while we're happy that you are assemblyman, we're kind of like it's bittersweet. Like, what are we gonna do with all this? And then we're not gonna have like more hotels in the town of Plattsburgh now.
I don't know.
What are we gonna have? What's gonna happen?
It was interesting when I was getting prepared to step down from this role. My last meeting happened to be the budget meeting, which is kind of a shorter meeting, and it didn't really allow for um, kind of putting a bow on it. So I did author a lengthier resignation letter,
Mm.
because I needed something that was almost cathartic and an opportunity to be reflective on the work that was done. And I want people to know that, the things that I was able to achieve were not singular achievements. It's critical that people understand that. I worked with a phenomenal team of individuals, from the staff to my fellow elected individuals to community members. And when people stand before you and say, I did, 9 times out of 10, there was someone else there to support you, friends, family, what have you. I'm very proud to have been in a leadership role, because I do recognize that you need to have somebody that's kind of tending to the flame. Um, and but A lot of good things will continue, but as my grandfather said, change is the only thing that's consistent. So, new change for the town, new change for the assembly district, and I look forward to the new opportunities.
I honestly, personally, and people that I know and been around for a while now, that you have a great name in the town of Plattsburgh. You did great things. I remember thinking, I wish Michael Cashman can get us a hotel. It's almost like you don't want to make it happen on this side of. I remember that day when I was like, we need two hotels here. Maybe we should talk to Michael Cashman. So we have people here that waving to me right here that we almost done. But what's your favorite movie?
It's a B rated old movie. You can actually find it in its full form on YouTube. It's called The Wizard of Speed and Time.
Mm.
Years ago, I thought I wanted to actually go into production,
Oh,
when I first went to college, and obviously I went in a different route. It's the general concept of it is it's about producing a movie within a movie, and there's actually stop animation with humans in it. It's kind of it's a different type of movie, but yeah.
what's your favorite music?
Um, I like the radio. I want something that's constantly changing. To put it in perspective, my first concert I went to was the Beach Boys. Then it was Moody Blues. Then it was Meatloaf. Then it was Boys to Men.
Oh,
So and then later on in life, U2. So I like a very eclectic, and that's why I like the radio. I want something constantly changing.
steak or chicken?
Steak,
How about seafood?
uh, versus steak.
Yeah.
Seafood.
I thought so because you were
Yeah,
from Cape Cod.
yeah. Lobster, clam. So yeah, absolutely.
Before steak.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
See, North Country, finally we got someone that said seafood.
But
Okay, all
I would
right.
actually prefer steak and seafood.
Okay. All right. So go
Yeah,
back. Okay, that's a big
yeah.
thing here. We have to make sure our assembly it's gonna choose next time. That's so funny. Do you like documentary? Like to watch documentary?
Mm-hmm.
How about the news? How many times do you watch the news a day?
I read the news more than I watch the
Okay.
news, because it's in different pockets and stuff like that. But I love documentaries. I love reading the news, watching the news, consuming it. Yeah, I think it gives you a sense of what's going on, not only in your local community. I think we should be supporting local media and local news,
Mhm.
and so yeah. I was also an editor for my school newspaper when I was in high school.
That's what I want to get out of you.
Yeah.
So how did you do it? Did you have fun with it? Did you like it?
I did. In fact, our school newspaper, I did a couple of the uh, what do you call them, the cartoon editorials, as well, and we had uh, a former military officer who became our principal, and he used to yell at the students all the time for wearing their baseball caps. So right before graduation, I went to him and said, "Hey, I have this idea for this funny cartoon. Would you let me do it?" And he goes, well, what is it? And I said, it's you in like a military uniform yelling at a graduate for wearing his cap, his graduation cap. And he goes, oh, I think that's hilarious. Do it.
That was a nice project.
Yeah.
So, what's your favorite season? Living in the North Country.
Yeah, I tend to go with winter, but fall is like, we kind of have those crossovers. Probably winter.
Probably. Oh, you like winter? And
Yeah.
then you have to. We live here.
Yeah.
I can't thank you enough for the time, and I can't tell you enough how much we all wishing you the best, best of luck. Hopefully, we can have hotels in Plattsburgh. And I really appreciate we all are appreciate everything. I know it's probably was very hectic for you and your family the last few months. Congratulations, our assembly, and good luck with everything. And we believe in you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Plattsburgh, upstate New York. Wait for the next time, but for now, good night and have a great night, everyone. See you next time on that chair. Have a great night.